This is the 9-month-old baby girl killed while at nursery. Genevieve Gigi Meehan died after being strapped face down to a beanbag and left unsupervised for 90 minutes in May 2022. Kate Roughley, who looked after Gigi at Tiny Toes Children's Day Centre in Stockport, was later jailed for 14 years for causing her unlawful death. Gigi's parents, John Meehan and Katie Wheeler, launched a campaign for Gigi to improve safety standards in nurseries, including compulsory CCTV. They handed a letter to Number 10, calling for a change in law to prevent future harm to children.
So what you'll have just seen there is the parents of Genevieve Meehan, Katie Wheeler and John Meehan delivering a letter to Downing Street. In the letter they state that Gigi was put down to sleep in a manifestly dangerous manner. Those responsible relied on the lack of clear statutory guidance on safe sleep, they said. They also had relied on an Ofsted rating that was not fit for purpose. So the campaign is calling for major safety reforms in nurseries. This includes mandatory CCTV, unannounced Ofsted inspections and safe sleep training for staff across all nursery settings. Genevieve Meehan, also known as Gigi, sadly died at her nursery in May 2022. She was strapped face down and tightly swaddled and placed onto a beanbag where she sadly died after an hour and a half. Nursery worker Kate Roughley was convicted of manslaughter in May 2024 and is now currently serving a 14-year sentence.
So what are you expecting to see from today?
We've had a lot of support. We've had a lot of cross-party support, people coming asking to hear more about the campaign and asking how they can help, and that's something which helps us drive through the changes at a much faster speed, which is time is of the essence. That was the message we wanted to get across today, and I feel we've achieved that.
And what is your direct message to the Prime Minister?
This is an absolute priority, and I think from the support today and the support that we've had from many parents are very surprised that these measures are already in place. And certainly their message and our message is that we really need to move on these changes and get these changes in as a priority, because it's about the welfare and safety of children, and there's nothing more important than that.
So after today, obviously we've had the letter dropping of the dropping here today. What are the next steps for the campaign?
We are going to be having a meeting with Olivia, and we are hoping that we can then discuss the changes in more detail. Olivia has said that she's going to follow a change to the earlier statutory framework with respect to safe sleep. So we are expecting to hear about that relatively quickly, and we are going to be working with Greater Manchester Borough's mayor and the mayor's office to try and bring in some of these changes locally, so that we can show the country and to the nation that this can work, and this is actually very simple. We've been really lucky to have the support of the mayor's office and his staff, who is absolutely incredible, and we're so grateful. It's difficult to put into words how much it means to us, because Genevieve is a child of Greater Manchester, so to have that support and to see that and to hear it firsthand, it is difficult to articulate how important that is and how much it's really lifted.
So obviously we know why we're here today, about the campaign. What is your involvement in the campaign so far?
Well, I met Kate and John for the first time a couple of months ago, and just obviously to sit and listen to what they went through, it is really quite heartbreaking, and you just put yourself, or any parent would put themselves in their position, and you just know it's unimaginable what they've gone through. But obviously they're turning that experience into a campaign for change, obviously the campaign for Gigi. And the calls that they're making are just about making settings safer for every child growing up. And to me, they're impossible to argue against. So straight away we were saying, look, Greater Manchester will get behind you. And already we're working on a safety and settings action plan in Greater Manchester with our 10 councils. So we're trying to put into effect now the calls that the campaign is kind of making. and bringing to Parliament. So if we can do it in Greater Manchester, maybe that will help get the case for the national legislation that the campaign is calling for.
So just building on that, what can you tell us about the Safe in Settings Action Plan? Can you tell us much?
Yeah, it's about obviously training and a focus on safe sleep and making sure when young people, particularly coming into the profession, that the standard of training is as good as it could possibly be in those early years. And also CCTV, just seeing it as part of the continuous improvement of the organisation, using it in that way, learning from things, because obviously things will go wrong in any setting, but when they do, looking back and say, right, maybe this next time, do things differently, not using it as a kind of tool of punishment, but an empowering thing to help with professional development. So yeah, we just think the calls that are being made here are absolutely the right ones. I think parents probably think that early year settings are more regulated than they actually are. And I think they would want there to be a greater consistency of standards across all settings. Because when you obviously put your child in a nursery or an early year setting, you probably make assumptions about things, and I think it would give people more peace of mind if they knew that there was a basic minimum level that all settings are signed up to.
And what are the next steps after today for Greater Manchester?
Well, the next step for us is to work to get our Safety and Settings Action Plan implemented across our 10 districts, work with our nurseries and our providers to buy in and build that continuous improvement approach. We have a focus on the early years in Greater Manchester, and we have a big drive around school readiness where we can link this to our drive to give all kids growing up in Greater Manchester the best and safest start in life. That's what this is about. But then we can build that evidence base that Kate and John can take to London and put in front of ministers and say, look, this has been done in reality and it's doable because of the changes it's brought, and that will help them hopefully make the case for the national changes.
And just a final question, why is this campaign so important?
I think it's so important because, as I say, it's all parents' worst nightmare. It's unimaginable to think that something like this could happen to your child when obviously they're not directly in your care. Everybody wants that highest level of peace of mind, and I don't think there should be any sense of inconsistency or variation when it comes to the early years. I think we need to have high standards and do the best we possibly can. I think we need to prioritise the early years as an area for our investment. So I think it's just about fixing something that parents would want to know was clear and standardised. I compare it a little bit to Martin's Law and Figan Murray's campaign because I think people would have made assumptions about security levels in venues before Figan brought to everyone's attention, well, actually, it's not that consistent and it does need to be strengthened. And I think there's a similar sort of call here. Sometimes, people think, the regulations will be tougher and they might be surprised actually to find that they're not as strong as they thought. But if you can fix them, it then gives peace of mind to parents everywhere and everyone is absolutely clear about, the minimum standards in every setting.